Well, we will go ahead and get started here. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the January 30th, 2026 Volusia Forever Advisory Committee meeting. I'm still getting used to that 6 number, and my papers can attest to that. But welcome. We are going to do a quick roll call here, and then we have some housekeeping, and then we'll jump into the agenda. We'll do the roll call.
Jessica Gow,
Here.
Suzanne Scheiber, Kelly Frasca,
Here.
Gerald Fieser,
Here.
John Gamble,
Here.
and then John Macaluso,
Here.
Wanda Van Dam,
Here.
with Derek LaMontagne is absent, and we have a vacancy, District 5, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. Now we have Kelly online, so we will need a motion to allow her to virtually participate.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, welcome,
Aye.
Kelly. All right, and then to kick
Thank
off,
you.
of course, to kick off the agenda before we go to public participation, we have a special guest star, Russ Brown, who's going to come up and give us a quick update.
Not sure that's the definition of special guest star, but thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, honorable members of the committee. Russ Brown, Deputy County Attorney. I was asked to come here this morning and give a brief synopsis of one of your subcommittees for the Charter Review Committee that's going on right now. So the Charter Review Committee is comprised of 15 members that were appointed by the County Council. Ms. Scheiber is one of those committee members, and they broke themselves up into 2 subcommittees. One is an environmental subcommittee that I've been participating in, and at that environmental subcommittee on Wednesday, today's Friday, excuse me, on Wednesday, the subcommittee voted to advance out of the subcommittee and send it to the main committee by a vote of 4-1, a proposed charter ballot amendment that would establish a registry that increases county council voting requirements for the transfer of conservation land. And so that would go to the electors in November, and the ballot language reads as follows. Shall the Volusia County Charter be amended to establish a conservation land registry, allowing the county council to add or remove land by a majority plus 1 vote of the entire council, and land on the registry will not be subject to sale, divestiture, or transfer by the county unless used for public purposes or the land is taken by eminent domain. And so that's the ballot question that if the larger committee of 15 members by majority vote approves to put it on the ballot, that'll be the question before the electors. And that would add section 1314 to the charter, which will be called the Registry and Protection of Conservation Lands. In subsection A that would be added to the charter would read as follows. A registry is created to consist of conservation lands owned by the County of Volusia. The registry will be known as the Volusia County Registry of Conservation Lands, and any properties listed thereon will not be subject to sale, divestiture, or transfer by the county. Properties may be added to or removed from the registry by resolution approved by a majority plus 1 vote of the entire county council. Subsection B would be added to section 1314 as well, which states the above restrictions on removal or transfer or use of property from the registry and the effect of being on the registry do not apply when the property is being used for a public purpose by the county or taken by a state, federal, or other entity having lawful authority to exercise the power of eminent domain over county-owned lands. And so that just allows the exception that's already in law for eminent domain purposes, which I think there's maybe 2 properties in my history that I'm aware of that have been taken by eminent domain. They both, in my recollection, were up on 17 for the widening of 17 up in Pearson. We had a couple properties that FDOT came in and was under the threat of eminent domain. And then the other is for public purpose for county to also allow us to expand roads, to add schools, stormwater facilities, whatever the case may be that benefits the public. And so that would be what would be on the ballot in November. If it's advanced out of the committee by a majority vote, I believe it's going to happen on February 9th. So happy to answer any questions or.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Did I hear you say that it's going to add properties, it's going to take a supermajority too?
It said may be added to or removed from the registry by a resolution approved by majority plus 1 vote.
So that means any properties that we vote now for Volusia Forever or entities, when it comes before the council going forward, they'll have to have a supermajority to add any of these properties?
By the language, it would be to add or remove land by majority plus vote. Yes, that's
So
correct.
everything now, even to add will be a I don't know
Well,
that.
I think that's to add it to the registry.
Correct.
And so one of my questions, and I do just want to note for the record for the minutes that Mr. Lamontagne has arrived. I think the question becomes, you have a registry, what qualifies as conservation land? Because Volusia Forever is very clear, but the county owns lots of property. And so what do you put in that registry, I think is a council decision of kind of the,
Won't most of Volusia Forever land go into the registry?
That's the presumption. Yes, sir.
So all Volusia Forever land will have to be approved by a supermajority now instead of a base majority.
To add to the registry.
Well, but aren't we saying the same thing? If
Well-
all Volusia properties, Forever properties going into the registry, therefore to add anything to Volusia Forever is going into the registry, therefore it's going to have a supermajority vote.
I
Am
think
I really-
Or
am I
is it a
missing-
two-step process?
I think it would be a vote to purchase and then a vote
Correct.
to add to the
Correct.
registry.
It's correct.
So you may have a simple majority for a purchase of a Volusia Forever land, and then you would need a supermajority to put that land on the registry. Is how I would read that language, but
That's the way I
there's-
would interpret the language.
Does everyone understand public purpose?
Well, I don't know what your definition of public purpose, but I guess it would be good for the public, right?
Pretty wide.
it's
It's a very wide.
It's a pretty broad definition. There's some state agencies have it defined in statute, but also case law. Essentially, it's a purpose that benefits the public. There's a whole benefit test that goes into spending taxpayer dollars. Essentially, you can't spend it on a private entity that's only going to get that benefit. So it's taxpayer dollars. You have to go through a certain test in the court if you're challenged. But it comes down to what those things I talked about: expanding roads, schools, fire stations, those types of things, parks.
So basically, too, down the road, if we had a nice piece of conserved property somewhere and it was closer in, and as expansion of growth goes out to it, we could say, hey, we want a school there, and instead of paying, 50 or 100,000 an acre for land, let's go out here and go out to this conserved property and pick it up for pennies on the dollar and build schools.
That'd be a decision for the county council, but in the past, I know there's some projects that are contemplated. I don't know if they've happened yet, but where maybe it's adjacent to a road and they want to build a sidewalk. So, for example, like county engineering would or has reimbursed the Forever funds for the actual price, whatever that price is, not the highest and best use of conservation land, but the highest and best use that the appraisal that the county purchased the property. So that's been the practice, but that could be changed.
And that would take a supermajority to do that, though.
To do
If you want to do an eminent domain by county, let's use a school, for example. If I want to go out and I need 100 acres for a new school campus, and I want to go out here to, we can pick any number of parcels that are in here, they're already under conservation. So we can go in there. Would it take a supermajority for the council to approve that for eminent domain by government agencies, or would it just be they can do that automatically because it's for the public good?
It would be, in running through the process, it would just be a majority vote because the supermajority is only about the buying or selling of the land originally. So in my hypothetical, the county already owns the land, and then you're deeming you need a certain percentage for public purpose.
So for public purpose, it's just a majority.
I believe so, yes, sir. That's what I would interpret it as.
unless they were transferring it to the school board for ownership.
Right, but that's outside county hands
Right.
at that point.
So that would be a supermajority to transport to the school board?
Take it off
To a
the
different
registry.
entity.
Right.
If it's in the,
Take it off the registry.
right, because it would be in a different entity's hands at that point.
Okay.
I
Good
have a
question.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
When landowners sell their land to the county for conservation, are they told that it is not in perpetuity currently?
It is currently in perpetuity under this program. The easements, but the purchase is just the funding review, correct? It's the-
Right, so I think we've had this discussion, or maybe we haven't. It's in perpetuity till it's not in perpetuity. So
Okay, so by creating that amendment, we're actually taking it out of perpetuity?
No, ma'am, I didn't say that. So anything that's bought right now by the county could be sold tomorrow if the county council decides to do that. Under state law, it's currently permissible. There is nothing in the program or that prevents the selling of property.
Kelly, we have a lot of feedback. If you could mute, and then it's not Kelly. Never mind. Thank you.
State law, and I think it's 125.35, allows the county government to sell and convey property. So the rules of forever are beholden to that state statute. We can't do what the legislature has deemed otherwise. I will say, in my understanding, I'm not aware of any property outside eminent domain that the county council has ever sold. But the council can now sell property if necessary, if they wanted to. Maybe that's a better word.
Since the time I've been here, I can't think of any properties that don't have partnerships. Do we have any properties that don't have partnerships, out of curiosity?
I'm sure we do.
Yes, we do have a few parcels that were purchased solely with Volusia Forever that do not have a partnership.
Other questions for Russ on the charter language?
No, so just following up on what Suzanne just said, I just wanted to check. So I mean, if there's a partnership, then it's not as easy to sell. Is that what the point was?
Well, there's conditions you'd have to meet under that partnership, whether it's paying back the funds they contributed or other conditions, presumably whatever the deed or the easement says.
And this, I think, would only relate to properties that the county is the owner of. So if we have a partnership and St. John's has ownership and we just provide maintenance, this isn't covered by the registry.
There are some dually owned, though. I mean, when you said just like owns and one manages, sometimes it is dually owned, though. I mean, right?
I have another question.
I can answer that. So we do have joint title on some properties that are joint owned, but there will be one assigned lead manager of that property. But title is joint owned.
Does this amendment in any way disqualify future matching funds from our partners, and particularly Florida Department of Environmental Protection, but other partners as well?
No, ma'am. And the council's current policy under Forever is to, what's the right word, to increase Forever dollars with finding partners to match. I don't know what the right phrase is, but
Yeah, the resolution, I believe, uses language to seek funding partnerships.
seek funding partnerships to increase our dollars.
Okay.
that does not
no,
change this.
I know that, but this doesn't.
No, ma'am, it does
Okay.
not.
Other questions? No? All right. Thank you for taking the time
All
on
right,
a Friday
have a good day.
morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, do we have any public participation forms for general public comment? All right. Perfect. And then the first agenda item is approval of the December 12th, 2025 meeting minutes. Those are on pages 3 to 9 of the backup. Does anyone have any comments on it? And if not, a motion.
If no one has comments, I'll make a motion that we approve them as written.
Okay, we have
I'll
a motion.
second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Kelly, just for the record, that was in favor.
Yes.
Perfect. Got a little bit of a delay, so we'll hold before I ask for the
Oh.
opposed.
Okay.
Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
All right. So then we are moving on to new business. First on the agenda is the 2026 work plan and goals. You can see that back up in the packet, and we'll go through that item. I don't know, staff, do we want an overview before we get into committee comments, or just dive in?
Just annual reminder, the work plan and goals are set forth in the resolution approved by council. So these are council's goals for the advisory committee and the program. But I would like to make a point on the annual report for 2025. The program added over 5,000 acres to conservation lands, and that's an accomplishment that hasn't been done in a number of years. Again, I'd just like to point out that's a big accomplishment for the program.
Thank you. Yeah. I said, shows how fantastic staff has been on getting great properties before this committee and council. All right, so then in general, we've got a committee discussion on the work plan and goals. As stated, the actual plan and goals are pulled directly from the resolution. If you would like to discuss those and kind of the annual reporting, we can. And I believe that if this is finalized today, we would target potentially bringing this forward to a March county council meeting for approval.
Correct. If approved today, this would be taken to council tentatively in March.
All right, so we'll open it up to committee comments.
I
Susan?
have some questions. Okay. I have a few questions. When was the last time the program was audited?
Volusia Forever receives an audit annually every year.
An internal audit, correct?
Correct.
Is there any way to add an education element to this for the county to do a public, like a public update education in every district at least once a year as part of our goals?
That's not explicitly stated in the resolution for education. Volusia Forever does have an education component through the land management side through the Explore Volusia program that is out there. But I believe that's different than what you're asking for.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm calling it education, but I'm asking, can staff do public updates as to about the program, what's been accomplished, where it is now, what the goals are, that type of public update in each district?
Yeah, staff does that throughout the year, but we have various tools out there. You know, the transparency dashboard is a good tool to keep current on what's been acquired. When we have properties that would be under our management, there are, ribbon cuttings, social posts that go out as well.
No, I'm asking for like a public meeting, maybe at the libraries, one in each district where it's advertised and you do whatever, a 1 hour update. Maybe you allow questions from the public, that type of thing.
So I think we can note that as a recommendation, and I think that staff can discuss with council if they'd like that. I don't think that we have the authority to add that to our work plan. But I do think, we've got the press releases, but you're saying more of a public workshop after hours, kind of for public outreach of the program, beyond the application letters that go out. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm looking for a public update from staff for each district, like once a year. And I would say that based on the current climate of what we just discussed, that this would be the most appropriate time to tell the public about the program. So yeah, that's what I'm asking. I'm not trying to get into the weeds here, but I think we are in the weeds here. I can't help that because I didn't bring us the weeds. I'm just simply asking if it's possible to do. And if we can't do it as a committee, as part of our goals, I mean, I have to accept what's legal, but I am still making the request. Let me just ask this. Is anyone up here opposed? I mean, I'm sitting here talking and, maybe I'm way out in left field on my own. Is anyone opposed? And if so, why?
Suzanne, let me make a comment, please. I've always been an advocate of giving the public as much information on programs as possible. I agree with you. I would support presenting that to the county council for a recommendation. Absolutely.
Wanda?
Yeah, the dashboard has been brought up, and I think the dashboard has done an excellent job on telling the public what we have, what properties we have, what properties are on the A list, what are on the B list. Maybe we could do something as simple as breaking it down on the dashboard or adding something to the dashboard per district. Like District 1, we saw this. District 2, we saw this. That might be an easier way to do it. And if people are interested, they certainly can go on our dashboard at any time
The only
look at the
problem is
information.
what about the people who don't even know about the dashboard? I mean, that's part of the reason I'm kind of, I mean, I agree, the dashboard's been great as far as created, but what about the public that doesn't know about the dashboard?
Well, if we're going to inform them about meetings, we can inform them about the dashboard. I mean, the public has to do their part too. They have to go to where the information is. And if the information's on the dashboard and we can direct them to the dashboard just as easily as we can direct them to a meeting. And I'm not saying I'm opposed to holding meetings, but I'm just not sure if we're going to get that. And I'm thinking maybe if you're looking for district by district information, we could add something to the dashboard per district. Just an idea.
And even a summary update of a Volusia Forever year in review of the purchases and property locations by district would be great. And I would say I'm also not opposed. I just don't, like I said, I think we can make a suggestion. And as this comes forward to council, it could be stated if there's discussion and feedback that we'd love to see a public outreach component, including the potential for public meetings. I don't think we can say we want staff to conduct a meeting in each district one time a year. I don't think we have that authority, but I think we can give the hope to council.
I'm open. That was just a suggestion. You know, as long I'm not like stuck to that.
One question, how many people in this group get updates, social media updates from the county?
I get the press releases every time for the Forever purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That covers a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
They put stuff out regularly. I mean, I sometimes see a couple of emails a day, even. So a lot of it is, you know, I did a lot of public meetings over the years, and I can tell you is for the most part, unless there's something that's really pissing the public off, they don't show up. So you might go to a library in New Smyrna and 20 people show up, and you have 5 staff people there, and you organize everything. I don't think in this day and age that's the most effective tool for the time and effort. I think social media, you stand a much better chance of getting to a lot of people. Maybe not all the people, but a lot of people. So I think if they're putting stuff out like that through the PIO's office in the county, that's probably a better way of trying to educate people than it is, you know. I know I wish more people knew about what was going on, but the fact of the matter is most people aren't really interested. They got other issues they're interested in, and that's not one of them. And maybe because it's been a well-run, well-financed program that they voted for. You know, 3/4 of the voters voted for it. So, I mean, that's in itself, that's pretty good. One other question on this is about the small lot acquisition program. Did we get any small lots in the year? Because there's none reported. So I didn't know if that was on purpose or that.
Pardon me? Tim Telfer with Volusia Forever program.
Yeah, number 3, I didn't see any results down here. I didn't know whether we picked up.
So we do continue to work on small lots. We have a couple in process right now, but we do have a hierarchy of projects. So obviously the big, larger transactions are first and foremost. And so we pick up the small lots when staff time allows. So we've had a very busy season. We do have some in process right now, though.
Okay. Thank you.
Suzanne?
I do support the idea of having annual meetings for districts. I think that that's just one more step to get information out to the public, especially those who are not on the computer or have links coming to their email. I think it's very important to reach all voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. The lawyer in me has tried to draft one of the statements that would work into the goals. And this is a starting point for the committee. I'm just trying to get something out there because I would like to have this today so that we can track that council meeting date. What if we included in item 7 that said something along the lines of support public outreach efforts by county staff regarding program achievements and goals, with the recommendation for public meetings and information sessions to be held annually or as the county council deems appropriate. Yes, I believe so. We've got some comments.
If I
first.
could,
Yeah.
a number of the council members are holding town hall meetings now too. And this might be an opportunity if the whoever's holding the town hall meeting reaches out to staff and says, could we have someone come in and go over this? It could be done at a single meeting rather than adding another meeting. So that's just an idea as well.
Other comments? Yep.
I'm just wondering. I
That's a
guess,
great idea.
how much role, I guess, individually we might be able to play. I'm just wondering. I think I heard before that personally we're supposed to be ambassadors for the program. So, I mean, I maybe feel I should be doing more and, holding some kind of information session myself. Obviously as an individual, I can't do it with other members on the board. But would that be appropriate? Or, because I think the motion said just for staff, but I mean, I want to not just put the onus all on staff. I feel like maybe we can do something. But yeah, getting the word out there. If people are already on the email list, then they're already know about the program. So emailing them to come to an in-person meeting, it seems like the cross. I'm not. So you have a lot of questions still, but I like your suggestion kind of as is.
I would probably just say from a sunshine law and protection standpoint, if others wanted to attend those sessions, which would be likely, it's best if staff leads the presentation, just so that then we don't automatically have it where someone in the audience can't speak because a member's presenting. But, all right, other comments or a motion?
I move to support what Jessica read out loud for an education component of our Volusia Forever program.
A second.
All right, we have a motion and second to add item 7, which I've drafted and will give to staff, but read aloud. Other discussion on that?
Jessica, can you please read it again?
Sure.
Thanks.
Support public outreach efforts by county staff regarding program achievements and goals, with the recommendation for public meetings and information sessions to be held annually or as the county council deems appropriate.
Oh, thank you. That last sentence is very appropriate.
Other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Again, I think Kelly was in favor. She seconded it. I'll just clarify.
I said, yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. No, go ahead. Sure.
I'd like it,
So,
I want to open up discussion about within our goals. This committee states that we support perpetuity and partnerships.
Yeah. Do you have a wording suggestion for that?
Well, pretty straightforward. The Volusia Forever Committee supports perpetuity and partnerships.
Can you expand from my understanding what you mean by perpetuity and partnerships and distinguish it from the overall program goal of seeking partnership funding? Just what we're additionally looking for.
The overall goal of partnership funding is fine. I would simply like it stated in our goals, and perpetuity is perpetuity of land that we are voting on and approving. As far as our recommendations, the lands that are purchased.
I'm a little confused here. I got, and maybe I read this wrong. Are these not the county council's goals for the program?
That is the baseline of where they came from, is our resolution.
Yes.
And we have authority to kind of add goals. But
We have the authority to change that?
not to change the resolution, but to add personal committee goals that don't conflict with that, to kind of charter our course through.
But that shouldn't be added to something that's approved by council, right?
So this form is not approved by council. The plan and
I mean,
goals, right?
I'm
right.
for doing it, but I just think that that may be a recommendation from this committee and not that you just say, oh, we're going to do 7 and we're going to do 8 and add them on. They're not added on until the council approves it, right?
The council will approve this work plan and goals, so they could remove it if they wanted to. So that is why it will go to council. But the baseline, right, the starting point is pulled from the resolution. Each committee, including ECHO, reviews their work plan and adds and changes goals year to year. So I think it's appropriate to add notes if we would like.
Recommend that
are
they get added.
correct.
That's what
Yep.
we're doing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We've always discussed the work plan and goals, and we've actually made recommendations before. One of the recommendations that was made that was fairly significant was when we pursued expanding the wildlife corridor, the conservation corridor. Sorry, get my verbiage right there, because that brought in more funding.
Yeah, but that's not here, right?
No, that's in the past. I'm only giving you an example of something that we
Well,
did
I know,
before.
but
Yeah.
you're wanting to add to this.
I'm only reviewing today's.
Okay.
I'm only reviewing today's, and I'm trying to discuss these items I'm bringing up.
Okay.
So that we as a committee support perpetuity, and we reiterate our partnerships, which Jessica pointed out is in the mission. And I'm bringing this up again because of the timing of what we just discussed earlier.
Wanda?
Well, one of the stated purposes of the committee is to make recommendations regarding applications for and participation in federal, state, and district land acquisition and capital improvement grant programs. So if we wanted to do that, we could point to the stated purpose of our committee, and that we are, reiterating our support of item F in the stated purposes of the committee. That doesn't address the perpetuity, but that does address the partnership portion of it.
Yeah, so we could restate that purpose. I'm just thinking of the language you just said, and just expand and build and say, we continue to support the
Just
like.
So you're asking staff to put this together to take in front of the county council for approval?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I ask, should we separate it into two? Just, would that be helpful? Perpetuity and partnerships, like 8 and 9. Is that not together? Right? Is that the plan?
Yeah, so I think that we can do either. Anyone on this committee can make a motion, and we'll have a second, and we'll vote on it. I think that my recommendation would be to keep us solely within the line of our ability and powers of the committee versus recommendation. So as Wanda noted, that is outlined in the committee goals. I don't know that the duration is necessarily outlined in the goals, but it's kind of an inherent that we'd love to see this program continue on in perpetuity with the purposes. I don't think a general statement like that is a problem. So I think that we just need to balance.
And if I may, just to add to the discussion, seeking partnerships is already in the resolution.
Mhm.
I don't think there's a problem then with reiterating our support of that within these goals, just as a reminder. And as far as the perpetuity, I don't, I guess I'm not, I get that what you're saying from a legal standpoint, but why as a committee are we not able to put our support forward?
I think Yep, Wanda, go ahead first.
I was just going to say the mission of Volusia Forever. This is taken right from our dashboard and right from the resolution. finance the acquisition and improvement of environmentally sensitive water recreation protection and outdoor recreation lands, and to manage these lands as conservation stewards in perpetuity. So that's the mission of Volusia Forever. So if we want to do this, I think we can point to our mission statement and say that we're re-emphasizing our mission, the mission of Volusia Forever.
And it may be most powerful. I'm just thinking that at the beginning of this, before we get to 2026 work plan and goals, to just have the mission restated and kind of bold underlined, because it is right there already in the mission that our guiding principle is.
I think that's takes care of what I'm asking, but I'm asking the committee to lend their support to our mission, to basically reinstate it, that we support our mission. Sometimes things are not obvious. Just putting the mission on there, if they know what the mission is, that's great. But for us as a committee to support our own mission in these goals, I don't think that's asking that much.
Oh, no.
That's all I'm trying to do.
I'm just trying to take things that are already in the resolution or are already available and written so that we're not creating something, yeah. And I think we have the groundwork here because we do have our mission statement and we do have the resolution that states the things that we're trying to do. So emphasizing that I don't have a problem with. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it within what we already have.
I appreciate that.
So we have two proposals a little bit before us, and I can restate where I think we are, and then the committee can decide how to take them as a motion. The first would be add an item 8 to our goals, which would just be an item noting something along the lines of our continued support, and then adding item F on partnerships from the resolution, using that exact language. And then the second is to add, before this 2026 work plan and goals, a statement that just says program mission, and copies and pastes the approved program mission for the program before we get into goals. So I cannot make a motion, so if anybody would like to make one or two.
I'll make the motion to accept your proposal.
Ms. Scheiber's proposal. Just wordsmithing. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. Discussion? Discussion on that?
My only comment is I think we're being redundant here because it is already in the mission statement, but if it, if it pleases, I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but we already got it. But if you want to spell it out to them and let them remove it, I mean, it's kind of a political ploy, but I'm good with it.
I mean, it's a good way of looking at it. Now, it seems that there's 4 votes for slowing down or eliminating the program. So the more you bring in front of them right now, the more opportunity there is. The next thing you know, the mission statement is changed. It doesn't say perpetual anymore. And then what are you going to do? I mean, I think, at least in my view, when the discussion came up about a goal of 50% of the county, that fired off a lot of people. Okay? Now, we're going to buy as much land as we possibly can. Well, you don't ever need to talk about a number. And there's no taking that back. The toothpaste is out of the tube on that. But I'm not one to start bringing stuff in front of this council. The next council, I think you might be able to, depending on who gets elected. But I think you're crazy to start floating more stuff to them. And I agree that it's a great thing to say. But it's not a good thing to take in front of the council and have 4 people change the program or try to vote to change the program. So I'm just saying is sometimes it's better not to be in the middle of things. Just my 2 cents.
Ms. Scheiber?
I would say that the council's already brought it to us. I didn't bring the 50% here to do any damage to the program. And it's not in the goals, if you notice. Did you notice that? But this is the mission statement, where the 50% was not part of the mission statement, which was made clear that was staff's goal. But this is the mission statement. If we can't get behind the mission statement because of politics, then why are we here? Because this is the mission statement, as Ms. Van Dam even said herself. I support the mission statement. I don't know why we can't publicly support the mission statement. And, you know, I would say that this has been brought to us. I'm bringing it up today. It's been going on for months now. I do think it's time to address it. And I think it is going to be addressed publicly. So that's where I'm at.
So I'm just going to add a few notes here. One, I just want to clarify for anyone listening online that there has not been any formal action by council to modify Volusia Forever at this time, or provide any changes. There have been comments made and discussions that may come up, and I think that there is a point that when the work plan is on the agenda, if it wants to be discussed, I think it will be discussed whether or not we include these tweaks or not. But I think that as a committee, we can decide how to proceed. I do want to note that the discussion on the thresholds and all of that, this committee did take an action to instead just say that we overall recommend the continued purpose of the program, which I think is in keeping with what we have before us so far, but without any numerical thresholds, as discussed and noted. So I think if it's going to be discussed, it's going to be discussed, and we serve at the pleasure of council. So that is where we take our direction from.
Just a comment. I don't know how we can wordsmith these changes, or not changes, but recommendation, I guess, or recommendations. But I do think it's important to include the why, if possible. And if we just say like we want partners, or we want perpetuity. I mean, we do this a lot. We know what it's about, but sometimes it's important, if we're being clear, that like we support this, not to just say it and like people should just do it because we say it, if that makes sense, but because this is saving stuff in perpetuity is necessary for like life to function in this county like forever. Like it's not because we just like don't want people to buy. It's like saying the why out loud will help prevent it from being countered, perhaps. So like if there is some other person to say like, oh well, I mean that's how I would add to it if we're going to support the mission. I see you disagree.
The only reason I'm shaking my head is Wanda's point was well made, that the mission statement exists, and I'm just asking us to reiterate what exists, our support for what exists. And if we can't do that, then quite frankly, as a committee, I wouldn't know why we were here. So I'm just asking for support for what already exists in the mission statement.
So we have a motion and second on the floor. We can have more discussion, but I did want to ask Wanda if you could reread item F and the program mission for. Yep. Oh, do we have Kelly? Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just don't understand why we wouldn't show our support for the mission statement. I mean, the program itself is a wonderful program that that currently right now has been brought up in a discussion outside of this chamber on whether or not the perpetuity of the land. So I mean, I think it's pretty vital at this time that we have the opportunity to reiterate our mission statement and show our support, that we support what was originally in the mission statement.
If I may, I'd like to provide just a little context to the committee Today is the goal setting session. So this is really for the annual goals. Some of what I'm hearing is more about statements, that you want to make a statement. Those are, excellent, pathways to contact your, council person that appointed you, or if you have people that, really want to reach out to make that statement, they should contact council for that. But I just want to give a little guidance on, a goal versus a statement for the goal setting session today.
I didn't find mine as a statement, as more of reiterating the goal.
Noted. Thank you. Yep. Wanda?
Yeah, and the way our current goals are written, or our work plan and goals are written, it's a soft approach. We're just stating that we're supporting small lot acquisition, we're supporting forest and farmland. I think if we continue in that vein and just say that we support the mission of Volusia Forever, stating what it states, and we support the stated purpose of the financing partners, to do it in a very non-aggressive, soft way, that these are things that we would like, because I agree with Mr. Gamble, there's times when you don't want to be getting too aggressive.
I agree with you on that.
We do have an active motion, but we are in discussion.
Go forward.
Will your discussion influence a vote on the motion? If so, we'd like to hear it first.
I have one other comment to make, but we'll go after the vote.
Okay. Derek? Yep.
If I still just had some thoughts or comments. So I do support the mission of Volusia Forever. I guess we all do, but I suppose hypothetically, I'm just curious, like, if we didn't, would we be like eligible to be on the board? I kind of feel like, I guess we didn't technically take like an oath to support the mission. I just feel it's like, if I use the metaphor of if we were elected officials, which we're not, but like you take an oath to the Constitution. So I feel like I took an oath to Volusia Forever. I mean, I know I did informally, I suppose, but so it's just, I'm just thinking the counterfactual on like, well, what if we didn't support the mission, like, and we did send our I just trying to think it through either way. It seems yes, we have to support the mission, so the only thing I think that would be beneficial is to say why we support the mission, which is what I brought up earlier. But I suppose if it's inherent in there, if people want to ask us individually, we can say we all have our good reasons. But I hope it works out, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of if the public does support it at 75+%, then I think either way, if for whatever reason, if people want to try to change it in a way that they don't support it, I think the public will react. So hopefully, whatever we do, we just show our support for what the majority of people want.
Sure. Yeah, and I would say that I think the current motion before us is just a restatement of the mission before the work plan and goals as it exists and is adopted by council, and adding the language about supporting the adopted resolution on partnerships. I think that intrinsically, each individual in this county has a different reason for why they support this program and voted to approve it. So I don't know that we want to get into that as a policy statement. Do we have other discussion on the language of the motion? Or are we ready to vote on this?
Repeat the motion again.
Certainly. So we will, the current motion, as I understand it, is directly preceding the 2026 work plan and goals on this paper, to just add a line that says the program mission and state it as it exists and is adopted. And then to add an item 8, which is to continue to support, and then to insert the language from item F of the resolution on partnerships, which Ms. Van Dam can read for us. Is your microphone on?
And participation in federal, state, and district land acquisition and capital improvement grant programs. So
that is the current motion. Any?
That is the motion.
Correct. Yep. All right. That is the motion. So we are going to move to a vote. I will have more of a delay for Ms. Ruska. All those in favor, please note it by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion will pass with 2 dissenting. Other comments on the
Yeah,
goals?
I don't think my mic was on. Sorry. Aye.
And that's an aye in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. So that remains the same, 2 dissenting. I have one item. It is just that goal 3. It currently reads support the acquisition of conservation lands through implementation of the small lot acquisition program. While it is certainly implied, we don't have a current statement of just supporting the acquisition of conservation lands. So I would suggest for the committee for consideration that we clarify that item that says support the acquisition of conservation lands, comma, including purchase of properties through implementation of the small lot acquisition program.
We could do that, or what is already there, support the acquisition and improvement of environmentally sensitive water resource protection, forest and farmland, and outdoor recreation lands. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. We don't have anything in there about just general environmentally sensitive land, so.
Committee discussion on approach there. I am comfortable with either of those suggestions, although I would need it restated to take notes for staff if we go with Ms. Van Dam.
I just think that we're getting a lot of bogged down on what we already have included in our mission statement and other elsewhere in our rules and regulations. So I don't, we don't need to go too far overboard. I mean, we can say conservation lands, we can say recreational lands, we can say, we can spell them all out, but they're already spelled out elsewhere. And this is just kind of where we want to work towards that. And so the more generic we can be, the better off we are. When we get too specific, we come up to something, and I can think of several parcels in the future that are already in process, and we can say, well, they didn't meet exactly what you had here. These have more of a recreational component or something, and we say, well, we didn't say recreational, we said conservation lands. And it's like, okay, well, how far do you want to go with it? The more we can leave broad and look at the parcel by parcel and how it fits the public, rather than spelled out stuff that, where we try to cross all the T's and dot all the I's and miss something. I just am concerned that we go too far. I'd rather leave our work plans and goals pretty generic and go from there, is my opinion. But
And I agree. I just think that our primary goal as a committee is not currently reflected in our work plan in that manner. So I think some language should just clarify, because I think when this is adopted, that is council saying, here is your directive for the year. And so we just want to make sure that it's covered. And it is a restatement of goals and policies, certainly. But unless they are digging through the resolutions, it is sometimes good for us to have this to go by for our year of work.
I do have no problem with number 3, putting a comma in there, because, and I guess this is another question I was going to bring up later, but
Gerald, your mic.
for recreational lands, how far is the program? I mean, I know environmentally it's pretty spelled out, but if we want to acquire land to put in a soccer field, is that outside of our purview of Volusia Forever?
I think the program definition is resource-based recreation. That's the adopted policy. So that is a question of the ages.
Passive recreation.
Well, and I just, I see that as where sometimes we buy the land and other entities help improve it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, having a green space down the road, 100 years from now, as some council members like to lose, having just a green space out there to look at could be we may want to put a tree museum in. Mm-hmm. And I'm just, again, we seem to have a trend where we want to look 100 years down the road, and that's what I'm looking at. How much land can we acquire now that'll meet future needs of the public that may have a different definition of environmental or conservation lands? And that's, I don't know where to go with that, but it is something that if we can put it in our goal to acquire those lands now, may have another purpose down the road, but it may not be development. It may be other recreation, outdoor recreation. I know that gets into purview of ECHO That's when I put my other hat on. But I see a symbiosis here that we're not achieving yet. And I don't really know how to get there, and I don't know if we want to spell it out in our work plan and goals, but we do need to cover as much basis and be as broad and generic as we can be. So whether it's a conservation lands, ag lands, and, and then small lot acquisition or whatever, I don't care, but I'm not going to try to wordsmith it today, but that's my general thoughts.
And I will note on that, that the question relating to resource-based recreation has been discussed and presented to the county council and a backup on an agenda item a few months ago, where the county legal put together kind of the overview of what resource-based recreation means, and council has kind of moved forward under that review. So I know that's been discussed, but I don't off the dome.
Can I make a comment on the soccer? I think the way I would word it is like you can kick a soccer ball around just to field, use a couple trees as your goalposts, and that's totally acceptable. That's how I would think of it. But like if you're going to manicure the grass and you're going to put in all these other stands and stuff, that would be not passive. I mean, so nothing. I like to kick a soccer ball around sometimes, and yeah, just make it informal, and I think be one with nature, and that's how they do it in other countries when they don't have all fancy stuff too. But
But just say that our criteria already exist.
If I may, I'd like to add a little context to that. There is a guiding resolution for the management of conservation lands as well, and it states, to provide appropriate resource-based recreation that is compatible with the site's natural resources and overall management regime. So management plans are created for these areas. A soccer field I don't see as a type of use that would be normally compatible with a conservation land, but an open green space in that conservation land certainly would be determined, at the time of the management plan.
Sure.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so we do not have a motion on the floor. There were a few suggestions, and chairs can't make motions, so I'll defer to the team here on if we want to add a clarifying statement for item 3.
Yeah, I have no objection to adding, either adding a separate item or expanding on the small lot acquisition program by saying support the acquisition of conservation lands through the implementation of the small lot acquisition program, and support the acquisition and improvement of environmentally sensitive water resource protection and outdoor recreation lands that meet the program criteria.
And I think that covers the recreation aspect clearly as well and uses that language.
Okay.
So is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. Any discussion?
Second. Oh,
Any discussion on that motion as a follow-up?
so that is different than what you were suggesting. I mean, because
Correct, and we'll work to make sure that language is written down. But I think the intent is the same. Yep. And it just uses existing program language to restate it. Yep.
yeah.
All right. No further discussion. All those in favor, please note it by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. That will pass with one dissenting. Do we have any other comments on the work plan and goals and annual report? Mr. Valentine?
I guess just we've done a few different votes here, so I'm not sure if this is actually now in there or not. But I guess when I read number 4, I kind of read it already that it says, if we're doing trying to acquire or support protection through less than fee conservation, I did consider that like the desire to get partners, because then we're not paying full fee for some land, I guess. I don't know if it would be appropriate to perhaps that would be where that could be placed if we did want to say less than fee conservation, including through having partnerships. Just now that I'm reading it again, I kind of just thought of this now, but if that's part of the goal to like use our money wisely, or through these easements, because easements of course are like cheaper in general, like that would be where to add the
partnership.
and partner to help support our limited resource financially for acquiring maximum land. So
We did already vote to add that partnership language as item 8, so
So-
we would have to modify that if that was the goal.
yeah, no, I guess I was just, if anyone has any thoughts on if it'd be better to add it in, but we already kind of did the other vote, so just throwing it out there. If for some reason it could be together with what we already have, then it's not like we're adding so much. So if they like, well, they, I say, our friends at the county council, you know, don't necessarily agree with adding new things, then, you know, just clarifying what's already there is more palatable sometimes. But and that's how I read it. Just so you know, I don't even think it technically needs to be changed, but just my interpretation is that I don't know if anyone else agrees, kind of, with that view. Just throwing that out there as a comment.
And I do just want to generally note, and maybe I spend too much time watching advisory committee meetings and their work plans, is that many committees revise and add things to their goal and policy statements, and it is not, I think, the political hot button that we may suspect. Just for, I do think that we should be careful on language, but I do think that a goal of our committee is to say, this is our guiding policy and here's what we're looking at. I think our last NRAC work plan was like 3 pages long. So we're doing great on keeping it brief. So
Yeah, and I think it's important that it's not, we don't give the appearance that we're trying to change anything. All we're doing is supporting what is already there. And that's all we have to say, I think.
other comments or recommendations?
Yeah, I'd like to make mine. The big problem that I see with the program currently is when they denied the bonding of the money. That really hamstrung the program, because if you can only spend what you collect each year, most of the big parcels that aren't currently bought aren't going to get bought. And those are really important things. The last time we did the program, they bonded. They spent all the money in like the first 5 years. It's the smart thing to do for the taxpayers. You get the most bang for the buck. Those properties aren't going to be cheaper 5-10 years from now, if they're even available. They'll probably go for development or something in between. And I know I did assume that that would be the council vote to bond the money, because it's such an intelligent thing to do. And when they did that, they basically cut the program down to nothing. Okay? And the next council may change all that. But to me, this group should make the recommendation that we believe in bonding the funds, that it's smart, and we've got lots of property that we can spend the money on. It's not like there's nothing out there it's just a useless bond and we don't have anything to spend the money on. And I think we really, as a group, needs to go to council and let them know that this committee believes that was a mistake not to bond, and they ought to revisit it.
We can
And
ask,
that's just where I'm coming from, and that's the most important thing that's happened to this program in the last year. So, as far as I'm concerned.
Microphone.
I agree with you. I don't know if that should be in our work plan and goals or not, but I think that would be a motion that would be worthwhile to send to the council, that with our more in-depth detail of what's going on in land acquisition than maybe the council, because they have so many other issues on their plate, that we fully support that. I would agree to a motion but I don't know that it needs to be in our work plan and goals.
that would be part of supporting what already exists, which,
Yeah, and the ballot question, the
Does.
ballot language specifically has on there, including issuing bonds. I mean, that was part of the ballot question, including issuing bonds.
And it is, and I agree with that, and it's another thing that's already in there, and we shouldn't have to support it, except the council now has said, no, we don't want to do that.
no, I agree.
And so
But
I
I'm a
think
little perplexed as to how we're supporting what already exists, and I fully support, but we weren't willing to just say our mission statement.
but we haven't had
at all.
an issue with that yet.
All of it.
Yeah.
There's not
Yeah.
been an issue. I'm only bringing out stuff when there's an issue that we need to address. If it's something that's already there and we're continuing, yeah, let's go, and no sense being redundant. But when we reach to a point to where we see the council differentiated from what's in there, then I have no problem bringing that out and a point and showing that hey, here's what was approved.
A question.
So
I have a question. Have you watched the meetings since
Let's narrow in a little bit on this.
beginning of October to now?
I've watched most of them.
Okay.
Yep.
I think you would understand why. And I am the 50%, the reason I brought that up, I wasn't the first one to bring it up.
Oh, I didn't
It
even
was-
think you brought it up.
it was
I
at
heard Brad
36%,
Brad
yeah.
Burbaugh say it in front of council. I
Right.
I never knew that it was you had authored that.
No,
so
no,
it wasn't
right.
anything against
I
you.
understand.
It was just.
I just wanted to make
me-
sure because that statement keeps coming up and I wasn't, it came up.
I know.
Yeah.
People have hung all kinds of stuff on it. It was just an idea. But you know, the financial part of it is, I mean, it's critical. It's really critical, and we probably should have got out in front of that. But I don't think anybody ever saw that coming.
Sure.
So I think that's a good thing to say at this point, that to reiterate, and if you're going to make changes that are going to council, I think an addendum on the bottom is we believe in bonding.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask staff in terms of the statement of if it's in the work plan or not. And I think as a committee, we can decide either way. But this will also have the agenda item summary. And so if we wanted to include a statement or recommendation that is not in here, we could have a statement in the agenda item summary that, in addition, the committee recommended continued support of financing the program, including through the ability of bonds as voted on by 75.6% of the population or something to that respect. So we'll leave it to the committee to decide and make a motion on what form we'd like it, either in this or on that statement.
I would like to say that I know we can go either way, it sounds like, on this. I just want to make sure we're unanimous. I guess that would be I could definitely go with what was said as just a separate thing. I could go with it being as an amendment or as part of the goals. Like either way, just for the sake of, it sounds like we all believe the same thing, basically, that it should be bonded. We should decide kind of maybe before we vote which way is most effective, and just, it's more effective to be unanimous in whatever we do, if we do kind of all agree with that bonding is the right thing to do, which any economics person will tell you is, unless for some reason, I can't think of any reason to not. I mean, I don't even want to count it unless like our whole state floods and then like we waste all this money and we can't pay it back or something. And I don't know, that would be the only thing I can possibly think of, but that's not going to happen, hopefully, or we got other problems if that's the issue. So I just want to say again, I could go with what was being mentioned first, or we can do both. Maybe, I don't know. If it's just throw it in there twice. Why not?
Do you have a preference as the?
Well, I would like that if the staff's gonna send something to council, that we have a vote and that they can say the committee supports bonding for the program.
Absolutely.
And I think that we never took a stance. I think we all agree with that. I mean, I hope we would, but I think that, and I don't mind that being brought back up in front of the council. I worry about bringing new things that they'll change the mission statement, and that's why I voted against that stuff. It's not that I love the mission statement. I'm in this because of what the program stands for. But I think when you bring redundant things back to them, they start looking at it, and they may decide they want to change it in some way. And they may have the power to do that. I'm just saying is they've already voted on the bonding. So we're not losing anything by bringing that forward. If they discuss that, maybe one of them changes their mind. And I'm just, because to me, that is the way we could help staff the best in the public. I mean, the idea is to purchase these lands, and we've got some fantastic properties that are never going to get bought unless they bond. And even then they may not. But the fact is, we don't stand a chance unless we do that. And, I'm passionate about that. I mean, you guys know. But I just think that we ought to, and I'll make the motion that we support bonding for the Volusia Forever program. And if there's a second, we'll have a vote on it. And they can pass that on to county council and on their next, agenda item.
Did you make a motion?
He did.
Yes, I did.
Yep.
And I will second that motion.
Now, in discussion, and we can have more,
Do we want to support the verbiage that we already vote, that all the 75.6% voted on? Because
I think that can be used as clarity. I think overall the bonding capability motion makes sense. That's what I would suggest that, and I don't think it requires changing the motion at all. I think it is good as is, that the understanding of the committee be that in making that vote, we would authorize staff anytime the bonding discussion came up to note that Volusia Forever approved and made a motion to support that. And also as a part, I would say as a backup of this item in the agenda backup, to just note that it was also recommended by the council to continue the support of bonding for the program. Just so that they can state that multiple times if it comes up as a separate item in addition to this.
And a question to staff, isn't that issue coming back before council again?
We have a presentation on the Volusia Forever criteria to council scheduled currently for the second meeting in February.
And that will be talking about bonding and the benefits of that maybe, or maybe I see a.
Well, bonding's already in the Volusia Forever process.
We know it's in the process.
It's a council decision to use it or not. So we will be presenting to council an overview of the Volusia Forever process at that council meeting for council's discussion.
Well, that's something we may, personally, I think I may attend it, and I want to listen to John get up and talk to council there at that meeting about it.
It's on my calendar already.
All right.
And that's the 17th, and it's an evening meeting.
17th. Afternoon meeting.
Yep.
I'm out of town in the morning, but I'll be back.
All right, we have discussion? Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wasn't sure. Does that mean there will be a vote then on that February meeting? I'm just curious. I'm not as familiar with the process of how those meetings work, or it's just a discussion, but still we can provide comments, or the public can provide comments.
We'll be presenting it to county council, and council will give staff direction going forward.
Okay. And just on the motion again, I wanted to clarify if there was an exact wording, or it's a general statement of support, or I did want to add in, if we are doing like an exact statement, to what you had or what was said earlier about the urgency or the need to revisit, I guess explicitly, but I guess if it's being revisited already, then just every time it's visited to mention it, and the need to do it sooner rather than later, because it can't just be like, oh, we support bonding 10 years from now or something. I mean, like now, just make sure that's for the sake of 100%, explicitly what we want. That's, I think, should be part of the statement.
Yeah, and to county staff is kind of the direction and thoughts there on the agenda backup for this, and statement on any future items that deal with bonding that Volusia Forever, the committee has recommended support of that. Do you need anything more specific? No. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All right. All those in favor, noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Kelly, are you available to vote?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? All right, that passes unanimously. All right. Any further comments on the work plan and goals? Okay, we have voted on each change individually, but I think we have not voted to adopt the overall. So with those changes noted, can we have a motion to adopt the work plan as revised in this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that will carry unanimously.
And can we get a copy of that sent to us once all those revisions are, I guess,
The final
done?
version.
Yeah.
I'll
I
send
suppose it'll
maybe
be in the
by email.
minutes for next time, but whatever.
And it will be on the council agenda, but yeah, we'll work through. Okay. All right. The next items are committee review and sorting into A and B list for our Cycle 6 applications.
Good morning, Tim Telfer with the Volusia Forever program. As was expressed by the chair, we are now ranking two projects that you've previously found eligible. They are the Little Hog Creek and Winona Road applications. The First one for your consideration is Little Hog Creek. This would be a fee simple acquisition, roughly 818 acres in size. Staff scored it 16 out of 21 for the site ranking criteria, and the minimum required criteria is 10. We are in early discussions with the St. Johns River Water Management District as they manage a great deal of surrounding property adjacent to this piece. Attributes include it is within the Florida Wildlife Corridor. It has the natural resource management area designation as well as the environmental core overlay. And with that, we stand by for any questions.
Any questions on this? If not, we will entertain a motion for an A or B list designation.
I have a question.
Sure.
It said there was no archaeological survey done. Would one be done if the property were purchased?
It's a possibility. Usually what we do on these is look at the master site file to see if anything exists currently. I would think it depends on if St. John's actually purchases this, or if we purchase it, if there's if we pay a consultant to go out there and do an archaeological resource study on it. So it's a possibility. I guess that depends on the agency and the appetite, and if we want to do that.
The other question I have is maybe a little odd, but what district is this in? Is it in one? That's the way I'm thinking. But I'm just curious because it mentioned Ormond Beach, and I thought I'm just asking.
I say it's right on the Palmetto Curtain.
I know I was involved in that because they were wanting to cut DeLeon Springs up about 3 different ways, and so we were fighting that. But I know that they all come over and dip a little bit out of the west side, and I don't know that. What is the one up in the northeast? District 3?
It's not District 3. It's this, I believe, is in Troy Kent's district. That's why it's
District
listed
4.
under
4 is
Mm-hmm.
the northeast quadrant of the county, and I don't know if it comes all the way over to Highway 11 or not.
It does. This is about where the line is, where it splits up with, I believe, District 1.
Another question I might. Sorry, you were
No, I'm just going to say this question is important for me to know because of the current climate on the council, and that's why I'm asking. I really would like to know the answer. And I tried to, there's not a property address, so I couldn't really search it, and I did the closest property. I can't quite tell.
Where's our GIS guy?
We're gonna confirm that 1 second.
Thank you.
It is most likely Troy Kent's, but I'll check to make sure because I think he goes all the way to Marsh Road. Hold on
Yeah,
just a second.
I believe State Road 11 is the dividing line, which this property borders, but we'll confirm for you.
One
Could
of
be
the
District 4.
when I plugged in one of the addresses that was near the really as close as I could probably get, it came up in District 1. But again, that's a guess, so I'd really like to know.
Question. St. John's is going to manage this?
So we're at the preliminary discussion stage right now. It would be a natural fit as they manage the surrounding property, and they haven't been opposed to that concept, but I'm not going to make any statement that would commit them to any future actions.
Okay. I'm somewhat familiar with this property. I've been on years past, and parts of it are absolutely beautiful, especially along Haw Creek. And Haw Creek is a major drainage basin for western Volusia County, so it's always good to have that. When you brought up the historical and archaeological stuff, a lot of that right next there, that little area you see there that's cleared is the old Clifton Cemetery, which if you're ever out there riding around, it's very interesting to walk through that. I mean, they're all Cliftons, but they're way, way back. I mean, the Clifton settlement started back in the 1830s and 1840s up there at the corner of 40. There, to the north of this property used to be the old Overland Road that went from east to west, and I don't even know if there's any remnants of it left. I believe it's to the north of this property before 40 came in and was put in. So But anyway, I think this is a very good piece of property, and if we can manage it right, it could have a lot of really nice recreational activities. There's a lot of land already around there that you can go to Plum Creek areas and Hart Island and all that. But anyway,
If I may, I confirmed it is District 4, Troy Kent's district.
I would move to approve this property for A list.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. That is on the A list. That is a great site. And then up next, we have the Lake Winona Road property.
Good morning, everyone. Hunter Falmer, Chief of Land Management. The next property we have for ranking is the Lake Winona Road. This is coming in as an ag easement, 115 acres. This was ranked 13 out of 19 by staff out of the required 9. Currently, there is no matching funds, and it is also in the Florida Wildlife Corridor, Ecological Core Overlay, and the Natural Resource Management Area. I'll take any questions.
All right, questions for staff on
And-
this application?
Question, that butts up to Hart Island to the north of it, correct?
Yes, it does. It's on the other side of the Hart Island from Hall Creek. It's on the opposite end of Hart Island, but yes, it does.
I thought it went all the way up there. I thought that was Hart Island to the north.
I have a question.
Yes, sure.
I see there's some type of dwelling over in the bottom right-hand corner. Is that a home or something being used, or is this an old map?
On the site description here, it says there's a single family home on site. It does have an address, and it says it has ancillary structures.
Yes, there's a home and a house there on the corner.
And they would remain, this is an easement application.
That's not fee simple.
Oh, it's not, okay. That's right. So someone probably lives there.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions? No? All right, any further questions? Then we'll entertain a motion by the committee.
Move we put this on the A list?
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of designating this on the A list, please say aye.
Aye.
Kelly, did you vote on that?
Yeah, did you not hear me?
No. It was
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. That is the last official business on the agenda, so we will go into staff comments and property updates.
Okay, so I'm going to work through the projects that we're currently engaged on and provide you an update on those projects. I'll start out with the McMillan Agricultural Easement. This has been approved by the County Council and our funding partner, the St. Johns River Water Management District, for acquisition. We're in the due diligence stage right now. That's phase 1 and survey, and we'll look to close this as soon as possible. The next one that I'll move to is the Tomoka Farms Road project. Okay. Still in an active acquisition process. We're just dealing with a couple of background issues. I'll just characterize them as just some light matters that need to be addressed before we could potentially engage the DEP as a funding partner there. Still very much active, still have regular updates to the owners, and hope to bring that forward very soon. I'm going to mention the Bennett Road agricultural easement. I'll give Ashlyn some time to put that up on the screen, but the reason I'm mentioning it is as we go through these updates, I'm going to provide you a little bit of additional information, and that is who made it into the Rural and Family Lands Protection Program application ahead of the deadline. So the Bennett Road has been submitted to the Rural and Family Lands Program. Additional background, that program, as you know, is administered by Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. We have a monthly standing meeting with their acquisition department where we discuss potential projects we can pick up in partnership. We usually discuss a 50-50 program split. So they are excited to see applications come in from Volusia County, and I just express that to you to say that we have a high degree of confidence, as long as their funding and our funding remain in place, that we can continue to acquire these agricultural easements that are in both program cycles. The next one I'm going to go to is the Caraway Lake Conservation Easement. So you've probably heard about this. This is going to go to County Council on the 3rd. This is a funding partnership with the Florida Forever program. They would contribute $8 million. The Volusia Forever program's contribution would be $379,000 for an agricultural easement across roughly 493 acres. I'm going to move to the Henry Enterprises application. Pardon me. Henry Enterprises is also on our rural and family lands list. So this is another one that when we get it formally listed, we'll be able to move forward in a potential partnership with those FDAX partners. Next one I'll bring forward is Cypress Ranch. Cypress Ranch is in the initial acquisition stage. What I mean by that is we've just completed the background title work on the property and we're now starting the appraisal process. So these are the steps that we complete ahead of making any type of an offer on the property. So that one is now in an active status. We are engaged with the landowner and moving forward to an offer stage in the future. The next one that I'm going to bring to your attention is the Lafitte agricultural easement. So there's two things to mention on this. Number one, we have regular dialogue with the family on how to structure this easement, and we have come to an agreement, and we are now awaiting the appraisals to come in. At the same time, we appreciate their cooperation. They did submit an application to Rural and Family Lands Protection Program. Depending on the timing, how this one develops in the family's position, I'll describe it as the family's position. It is something that if we can make it to later this year, we might have an excellent partner in the state, but if the family determines that we need to move at a more accelerated pace, we can still put this package together and put it in front of the county council for consideration as a solo Volusia Forever project. Next one is the Sutherland project. This is also one where we worked with the landowner to have an application submitted to the Rural and Family Lands Protection Program, so another future potential partnership on that one. Lake George Road is the next. So Lake George Road, we are now beginning background work ahead of a potential offer to the owners of that property. Again, initial build-up phase to proceed an offer there. The next one that I'm going to mention is the Riverbend Ranch property, southern Volusia County. It's a large, almost 1,300 acres in size, right on the St. Johns River. So without going into the detail, we have a verbal agreement on price. We're in the process right now of drafting the contract language. It's got to be approved by a potential funding partner, which would be the St. Johns River Water Management District. It has to be approved by the owner's attorney, so it's a little bit premature to discuss too many details other than to express to you that this one, we have a verbal agreement on price, and it's just a matter of putting the details together now and getting this in front of the county council. And that completes the update on the active projects. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions for staff on project list? It's great news on a lot of them. It's great to see the forest and farmlands getting a lot of activity. All right, no questions for staff on that. Sorry.
We're able to do most of these purchases so far without bonding?
So far is the key language in that statement there. The Riverbend Ranch is going to be a substantial expense, and that would severely cut into our reserves without bonding. Now, there are additional projects that we can take on, but we obviously can't work through the entire A list, and there are some other projects that would be delayed if we waited till the next fiscal year to have the funds available.
Thank you.
All right, other questions for staff? All right, moving on to advisory committee comments. Does anybody have anything?
I have a question.
Sure.
The properties that we voted on today for the A list, when will those be coming before the council?
Our target is to deliver that A list in March.
And could that potentially align with the work plan? Unsure, but
That is roughly the same time period, yes.
Right, and I'll remind the committee, there's also another priority list from the previous advisory committee meeting going to council on the 17th.
Okay, yeah, I have a couple comments, and I'm gonna probably keep asking this every meeting, but any update from City of DeLand on Moore Lake?
Yes, I have spoken with the manager there. They are in the design phase of their trail system, determining some funding or designs on whether they want to do, let's say, some heavier duty things like boardwalks or more of pathways trails. So they're still determining their design there. I have offered assistance to the city as far as any equipment needed to get some of those areas opened up. But we are in active communication with them on pursuing public access.
I keep a cattle prod in my truck. If you need it with them, I would be happy to assist it, because this really bothers me that it's taken them so long to do anything, which leads me up to the next issue, and that has to do with the Talmadge Gardens property that seemed to cause so much consternation to the council at that meeting. And I know it's a very expensive property, and I understand we're going to try to bring partners into that, hopefully, and one of them might be the City of DeLand. And from what I've seen so far from the City of DeLand, I don't know if they're going to be a good partner or not. And if we don't get good commitment from them and get them, I mean, if they can develop houses as fast as they do and approve that, they ought to be able to get a park put in somewhere, or that we've already got the land for. So I'm very concerned about that, and I've already expressed my concern to the mayor and probably will continue to do so. The other thing, too, that I found interesting, I was talking to one of the wealthy landowners out there along Lake Winona Road the other day. We ran into him because there were some cows out in the road, and we just got to chit-chatting, and he got to talking about some of the other parcels that it was all originally all part of the old Schron property, but now are owned by various, very wealthy people. And some of the land prices that they're talking about, if they resell, would make the Jacobs property sound cheap. And what was explained to me was that currently in the state legislature, there is bills being passed to allow these cities, and Jessica, you probably know more about this than I do, that would allow development to occur on 1,000 acres or more without any county, and we have a lot of parcels in this county that could easily happen to if this passes and goes through. And some of these guys are already sitting there watching that. There's a couple, and then you have these private equity funds. There was one I was reading about the other day. They've spent and invested $280 million in the state of Florida. They have 15 lobbyists up there in Tallahassee right now trying to get a lot of these bills put through. So we need to really keep that in mind on our defensive strategies, and why, to me, it's very important that we do the bonding and try to get as many of these parcels. They're not going to get any cheaper unless people start moving to some other state and coming out of here. But from all indications I've seen, it's not going to slow down for a while. And so we really need to get out in front of that. We have done a great job getting out in front of it. Volusia County is well known around the state as being a leader in conservation. Probably why a lot of people want to come moving here. So anything that's not conserved is going to be covered up in houses. So anyway, with that, again, we need to keep a fire to our partners and make sure that they get their entity and do the same thing. With that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Other committee comments?
I just, following up on what Ms. Feeser said, 1,000 Friends keeps very good track of the bills that are being put forward. So if you're not on their email list, that's something to do, because they constantly give updates on the progress. 1,000 Friends of Florida. Yeah, they constantly give updates on the position of the bill, who's championing it, who's against it, and you can automatically send an email in support of or in opposition to right on their website. So that is very worthwhile downloading.
And their email blast is fantastic. They also just have a 2026 legislative session page on their website with every bill they're tracking. And they track anything related to environmental and growth management overall. That's good. It's
That
helpful.
organization just sent a letter. That organization just sent a letter of support for Volusia Forever to our county council from what's taking place in the current climate. They just sent a letter, like within the last few days.
Just two quick ones. Number one, I'll ask one more time before I give up. If there had been any more information on Tomoka Farms Village that Mr. Ponatowski, I think it was, came before us a couple of months ago. Any discussion on that at all from him?
I believe we sent, so forgive me if my memory is not 100%. I believe we sent a letter on that one and received no reply.
Okay, thank you. And number two, I'd like to thank Mr. Freiser for being our local historian and bringing out the facts of all the properties out here. It's fascinating.
I don't know if I'm a historian, but I have lived in that area. When it comes to Lake Whitehorn Road, Northwest Volusia, I've been there only been around there about 65 years. So that's.
I think that qualifies you.
Qualifies, okay. But I'd learned a lot from the old timers that used to come around. I've heard stories. That's when we talk about lands that this is such a pristine land, and it's like I heard stories when that was clear cutted back 70 years ago, and. One guy used to tell me that they've seen lights when they were on 44. They could see the lights all the way up on 40. Of course, it was a road because there was nothing there. It was all cut down and cleared. And that's our corridor that we're talking about today. So when we talk about, pristine lands, it's for me what we want to see in the future, not what's been in the past is gone. So anyway, I will continue to bring that up if you enjoy that stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, I just again want to thank staff for all their hard work, and again, I think you guys are doing a great job being a conduit for this for our views. And I know sometimes I feel like we're asking you to say like, what do you want? What do you want? I'll be like, well, I mean, technically it's supposed to be what we want, and you help us, or what the council wants. So, but I mean, what you guys want, I think we all want the same thing. That's to help the county. So I'm glad we're on the same page. But I just wanted to clarify something that because it wasn't on the agenda, and I did miss the first minute of that presentation earlier, I guess. So I was curious, were we supposed to vote on that, or was there a vote or something? Or
Nope, it was just
information.
Yep.
So for the informational part, then is that is going to be like a resolution that is being voted on by the county council sometime soon, or we don't? That's just talking.
It is a subcommittee proposal that will go before the Charter Review Committee, whatever their name is, for them to vote on.
Okay, and I mean, again, there's no role for us to even provide a comment at all, or just individual? Or?
I think individually you can. I think that committee takes public comment and emails, and so
Okay.
their members are listed if you wanted to reach out to them.
Okay.
But
yeah.
this committee, no.
But yeah, I guess I did have some very serious concerns, as I guess everyone did, but yeah, I guess we'll give us some more time. I just didn't know, I didn't catch the deadline for when that committee will meet next, or I guess, but maybe I can look that up. Or does staff know offhand? Or?
The Charter Review Committee meeting is February 9th at 5:30, and they're held at the airport in the conference room.
The McGee upstairs.
Yes.
Okay, and that resolution would then have to get their approval and then get county council approval before it even comes to the people to vote. Okay, just checking on the process, and thank you for that clarification. And I think that's all I got. And yeah, thank everyone for all their comments today. It was I appreciate the education and history as well.
Fantastic. Any other comments on this side? We're good. I have one tiny request, and I know I keep asking for things to be added to this rankings report. Is there any way we can just add the parcel IDs on the top so that if members have questions before about districts, they can plug it into the GRM map if we don't have an address? That would be
Yes, that's easy. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, as always, thank you, staff. I think it was a fantastic overview. Really love the project updates. And I think we did some good work today. Whoever we need to get with about notes on the criteria, I have the language so that we make sure it's tracking well, and we can go from there. Anything else, everybody? All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
So the